Greetings and salutations, nerds. You're listening to Praying for Superpowers,
a podcast about the deeper meanings, intricacies, and messages hidden within nerd culture. I'm Peter Jordahl.
And I'm Trevor Sharon, and today we are talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My absolute favorite TV show of all time.
Let's do this.
Just before we started recording, I discovered some horrible news. If you're not sitting down right now, ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. My co-host has not seen more than a few episodes of Avatar TLA.
I have, and I have no excuse as to why, other than the fact that it's not on Netflix yet.
Sorry, that was my dual Chinese broadswords falling over.
Yeah.
That's a show reference. Man, it's not on Netflix yet.
Yes.
Keyword yet, because Netflix is partnering with Michael DiMartino. I don't know how to say his last name. One of the original writers and directors from the original show and Nickelodeon to remake a live-action version of this show.
Here's praying that it's better than M. Night Shyamalan's version of this incredible story that he just butchered.
He just killed it. Man, if that's your only experience with this world, I am so sorry.
Even I apologize, and I've only seen a couple episodes.
It was bad. This is something I want to get into in another episode, but when that movie came out, the biggest thing was that it was a whitewashed cast.
Oh my gosh.
The only, all the good guys were white actors, and all the bad characters had darker skin tone. And so when they announced that they were doing a live action show, they actually put in their announcement title a non-whitewashed live action version of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And there we are.
There we are. Man.
Hey, will you explain to individuals that are similar to me, who have maybe only seen a couple episodes or who haven't seen any of them and have no idea?
Yeah, so Nickelodeon's Avatar: The Last Airbender is an anime-style American show that came out when I was in middle school and high school. It follows the journey of three characters mainly, with 4 and 5, joining in the storyline as time moves on. If you watch the first episode, it starts with a history lesson, and it says, long ago, the 4 nations lived together in peace. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. There are 4 nations, fire, water, earth, and air. And the Fire Nation declared war, almost like a Nazi Germany-esque, destroy all the others because we're the best type war on the rest of the nations. And to get real, they actually commit genocide. And you learn that the Fire Nation commits genocide in the first episode of the show. And there's this one character, the Avatar, who, I'm skipping over so much.
It's all good. I think this is a good track for the broad synopsis.
Okay. So there are 4 elements, right? Water, earth, air, fire. And there are individuals in each nation who can use those and bend them, move them to their will.
That's the magic system.
That's the magic system in this world. And the Avatar can do all 4. And he's the only one, or she's the only one, that can master all 4 elements. And so their job is to bring balance to the world and keep the world in order. As it gets more and more out of order.
And I think what's interesting, this is just a quick aside, the Avatar series does something that we see repeated, especially in recent years, in Divergent, even in Harry Potter, and in the Hunger Games, where you have these category or groups of people. And I mean, Hunger Games is sort of similar, but primarily in young adult fiction, you have the 4 groups or 4 schools or these demographics that are separate from each other. And the story of all of them compete. There's one maverick group that's usually represented by red. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones who are the warriors or whatever. I would say Slytherin would be this group. The bad kids.
The Fire Nation,
or something.
Yeah.
And there's a hero who can somehow transcend those groups.
Yeah.
And at the same time as them transcending and causing controversy within the groups somehow come together or find a joining together, which I think you see a little bit of in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah. And one way that you see this and is through the character Uncle Iroh, and he's one of the, I would say, one of the 7 pivotal characters in the show. He is originally voiced by Chinese actor Mako, who passed away during the recording of the show, and is actually like they have a whole episode dedicated to him. It's very well done, tastefully done, and he was a great actor. But he gives all of this sage wisdom and advice and counsel throughout the show. And what I love is he's teaching his nephew Zuko at one point. He's like, the people of the Earth Kingdom are strong and resilient. The people of the water tribes are they're fluid and they change with the times. The air nomads live in harmony and peace with the world, and the Fire Nation are strong and like driven. And so he talks about all 4 of them, and then his nephew's like, "Isn't this Avatar stuff? Like I don't know the other bendings. Like I don't know the other elements. It doesn't matter to me." And Uncle Iroh's like, "It is, but you have to find harmony in all of this, or you won't be able to become the person you need to be."
Which I think is a great theme that we see in young adult fiction and in shows of, there are things that separate us, that make us different, that make us special and unique in certain ways. But ultimately, the climax of our stories is being able to work together with the other groups. Mm-hmm. You see that in The Last Airbender, because there is that combining of the tribes in this group of friends that fight together.
Yeah, I trying not to spoil the show as much as possible because it's younger than me. But there's water, earth, air, and fire. The 4 nations come together in this one group of 5 people. Mm-hmm. And like it's so interesting to see all the differences between them and how they are each their culture represented as a single person. And 2 of the characters, Katara and Sokka, they're from the Water Tribe. They're brother and sister. They so interestingly show both sides of the Water Tribe, where they're fluid and they change with the times and they move, but they're also immovable like ice. Like they both have severe moments of strength and power, and character development that just blows my mind that this is a kid's show.
Yeah. I'm currently in my master's for counseling, and a lot of the classes are currently talking about multiculturalism and being culturally proficient, not just aware, and how there's a difference. And I really have fallen in love with how there are so many stories from our childhood, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Avatar series included in that find a really unique way of showing us race and racism in action and how devastating it can be, and the beauty of learning someone else's culture, learning about them as an individual, how that culture influences them, and that no 2 people in a single culture are going to be the same. Which is something that I think we miss as adults a lot.
We generalize, we stereotype. And like, you hear like Hufflepuffs are lazy and slow-witted, and Slytherins are evil. Right. And, and like Cedric Diggory was a Hufflepuff. Yeah. And he's one of the most brilliant characters in a lot of his scenes. And, not all of the witches and wizards that come out of Slytherin are bad. Not all the Gryffindors are good, and in Avatar, it's the same. One of my favorite characters, they're all my favorite characters. I'm going to keep saying it. The show is just fantastic. In Avatar is Master Piandao. And he's a Fire Nation, like raised Fire Nation. That's
which would mean, from somebody who isn't super aware of the show, that he is supposed to be this villainous, super passionate and zealous bad guy.
Right. And just kind of like just evil. Right. To like that they're born bad, and it's like he's not. He is himself, and they do a great job of not stereotyping throughout the show.
Yeah.
Where as soon as you think that there's a set stereotype, they break it. Where you're like, oh, these people are good because they're from the Earth Kingdom and they're actually secretly trying to take over the world at the same time the Fire Nation is. And it's kind of like blows your mind that this is all happening. And I can't get enough of the show. There's a second series called The Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
And that's about the following Avatar. The Avatar is reincarnated in a life and death cycle. And so in the next series, they tackle that even further, where the main villain of the first series is a waterbender, and the main villain of the second series is also a waterbender. And then you have an airbender, and then you have a firebender. Or an earthbender. And so you have fodder. I mean, a little bit. They're kind of fodder. you have fire, water, earth, and air, all as the bad guys throughout these two series. And I love that it's not always the Nazis like in Indiana Jones. It's like the bad guys aren't always this stigma.
And especially, I think in our culture, we've seen a progression where the people who are supposed to be the bastions of hope and truth and justice turn out to be flawed and failed, and to be dark characters in our lives in reality. And not to get super political, but I think the Me Too movement has brought to light some of that, where you have so much hope for a certain person that, I want to be like so and so, I think they're awesome, and then you find out that in the dark areas of their life they have done these horrible things. And the beauty of what we've learned through shows like Avatar is that nobody is as perfect as they seem. Nobody is perfect. And also that the stereotypes that we put to people aren't always true. We have those friends that are from the Fire Nation and we expect them to be one way, and they turn out to be a different way. Or those friends from the Earth Tribe that, we expect them to be faithful and loving life and really
something
full.
they betray us somehow, and we're kind of broken. And we've talked about this before, expectation. When your expectations fail you, that is just damaging.
Totally.
And so I think you're hitting on like a real good chord here, is that we really have come to this place in our society where there's no longer this place for pedestals. With modern culture, the society of Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat, there's no room for pedestals anymore. People are brought low every day. People are gaining courage and coming forward about different things that have haunted them in their pasts, and it's beautiful to see this change, but it's also heartbreaking.
And I think it's really, really cool to see the humanity in all of it, because I think the pedestals have set us up poorly, because nobody can live up to that. You really can't. We're human beings. We all have failures, and they range from small things that you can ignore to big things that you just shouldn't ignore. But ultimately, being able to see some of our heroes, and we see this in Avatar, seeing our heroes struggle deeply with these strong emotions of what we would call evil desires, or wanting to do things that we know the evil guys should be doing, is encouraging to me, at least, because it says, okay, I'm not alone in this struggle that I have between the darkness and the light, or the good and the bad, whatever it is. We all have that within us, of this struggle to be the hero. And some of us don't live up to that.
I agree. I think the reason that Avatar: The Last Airbender is so powerful is because of the character development. There's a line where Aang is talking to another character, and he's like, you need to forgive and let it go. And he says it so earnestly. And that's kind of who his character is. He's this forgiveness, second chances. He's 12, mindset. He's this 12-year-old. And what you see is another character say like, no, I want vengeance. And they go to get vengeance, and they decide against it. And then they say like, I couldn't do it. And he's like, violence wasn't the answer. It never is. And the other character says, so what are you going to do when you face the Fire Lord? It's like the guy who has been trying to destroy the world. What are you going to do?
The guy we've been told inadvertently throughout the entire series we should murder the crap out of this guy.
And voiced by legendary Mark Hamill,
which
is awesome. It's he uses basically the Joker's voice.
Yeah. Which is such a brilliant villain voice. It just really is.
Well done, Mark Hamill. One of my favorite nerds, again. So, but yeah, like you're told like they're evil, they're bad, and it's just harder and harder to like stick with. Like you're like, yeah, kill them. Like they should not be allowed to live, and then you come to it, and it's like in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf is like, don't be too quick to deal out death and judgment. You know, many people that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them?
Which is 100% our reality. We make such harsh judgments against other people. And I'm guilty of this. I make harsh judgments against myself. And this very absolutist language of they're always bad, or they're never going to be able to change, or they always deserve to die. And we see that combated in Avatar.
Yeah.
Of like, is it really though? There's a little bit more room for gray, and we have to make some ethical and moral decisions based on what we've learned.
And I don't even think it's that there's room for gray. I think that every person is gray. And like we're so often like this culture or this ethnicity or this race is black or white.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's not even that, okay, as a race they're gray. It's that as an individual person, they can be evil or good or anywhere in between their whole life.
Yeah.
And it completely boils down to that. One thing I want to jump to in Avatar is family of origin is amazing. Aang is a monk. He is raised not knowing who his parents are, right? He's just raised communally, just to be a good person. Like they're vegetarians and like they're Buddhist monks. That's what they're based off of.
Yeah.
The Fire Nation, Ozai raises Zuko and Azula, his two kids. And like he's insane. He is a psychopath. His daughter's a sociopath. Zuko, like the biggest thing about the character Zuko is his left eye is completely burned and scarred because when he was 9, his dad threw a fireball at his face to teach him a lesson. Just like that's his family of origin. Sokka and Katara from the Water Tribe, all of the men in their tribe went off to war to try to defend the world. So Sokka, at 12 years old, is the oldest man in their tribe.
Dang.
There's no other men left except for the really old guys.
Yeah.
Like the ones who can't fight anymore. And so we see, like in him, a desire to lead and be powerful. And Katara, her mother, dies when she's young. And, you know, you see this motherliness in her. She wants to be a mother to others because she sees people without what she had. And she's looking to give that. And it continues on. Every character's family of origin is so important to the story. And like we don't allow for that in our lives. We're like, you can't be that way. And, and the phrase like, you don't know me is like kind of said like a joke, but it's so true. Like you don't know my life.
Yeah.
I've had so many struggles. Trevor and I both love Brandon Sanderson. And just a quick plug, Shalon Devar and Kaladin's meeting story. Their back and forth about her past and his past is the most interesting you don't know me scenario in writing for me.
Oh, it's super humorous.
Yeah, and it's well done.
Very.
And it makes you love the characters more.
Yeah. I recently did what's called a challenge day at my wife's high school that she teaches at. And one of the things that we did was we sat in a circle with a couple of the high school students and like 1 or 2 adults. And we're given the prompt, if you really knew me, you'd know, and you had 2 minutes to finish it. And it's incredible what you learn about somebody in 2 minutes when they give that prompt. If you really knew me, you would know that, my parents divorced and I'm living on my own, or that my dad's the most important thing in my life, or some of these really important things about who they are. I struggle deeply with depression. I was just out of the hospital for a suicide attempt. Like these really incredibly deep and stigmatized things that we don't talk about. And it's always interesting to me as we go through fantasy and TV shows, and we learn more about characters, and we discover that there's more depth to them. I think that makes for good writing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a part of our reality in life that there is so much more to each one of us than what we see.
Yeah.
And what we come from.
Yeah. Man, plugging it back into Avatar. This is kind of a weird connection, but the show itself is so much deeper than it first appears. I realize, talking now, I haven't probably sold you on the show. You're probably like, it's this weird show about magic, and there's these animals, and who knows, and there's a genocide, and
there's a flying
bison. But to sell you on it as like a kid's action show, each of the nations' bending is based on an actual style of kung fu or martial arts. So Fire Nation style is Shaolin Kung Fu. Airbending, I forget airbending. I forget actually most of them. I know the Fire Nation is Shaolin Kung Fu because I wanted to learn Shaolin Kung Fu when I was a kid because of this. And then when you move to the Legend of Korra, which happens 70 years after the events of the first Avatar series, there's new styles where they've kind of combined, and they're based off of kickboxing and mantis style, and you have like modern day judo turned into these bending arts, which is brilliant in its depth, where like it's actually an actual fighting move that you would use in a real fight. They just also shoot fire at the same time.
Interesting. In a cartoon,
right?
To see actual martial arts,
right? It's not just like they don't just wing it.
Yeah,
you know, it's well done. And then if you haven't watched it and you want to watch it and you go out there, just get to like episode 7. Get past. Well, first of all, watch the show. Skip the Great Divide. You don't need to watch it. It's terrible. The writers agree it's terrible. They make a joke that they shouldn't have made that episode later in the show.
Okay.
Skip that episode. And then it really starts getting good. It's a little younger in its writing.
Okay.
Like most shows and our podcast.
Yeah,
the first few episodes are
our
rough.
show too.
Yeah. Grain of salt. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Season 2, it gets really good. Season 3, I cried at least twice.
Dang.
And it's also some of the best writing. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
And really one of the few things that's come out of Nickelodeon that still has life in it.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of really excellent Nickelodeon shows for us 90s kids, early 2000s kids. But it seems like Avatar has a little bit more life in it that is going to come back to Netflix.
Yeah.
And could turn out to be something absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say enough good things about it, and I think you are absolutely right. It is full of life.
Yeah. If you are interested in Avatar, if you've watched it, we would love to hear from you. If you could bend any element, what would be the element that you would bend?
And give us a why.
Yeah.
Not just like, well, I like setting things on fire, but like a real reason. Like I am a rock. My name's Peter. I want to be an earthbender. Like that would be awesome. Yeah. Also, build my own house wherever I go.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say water just because I think that it has so much application. And I mean, there's so much of water. Our planet is like, 70% of water. Our bodies are not like, I don't know, a lot of water.
Blood bending is a thing. You can bend the water inside another person.
Sold. I mean, that sounds awful.
Only the evil people use it, so you can get super excited about it, I guess.
I will just be like Vin from Mistborn.
What if I tell you that if you bend fire, you might be able to learn how to shoot lightning?
Ooh, that makes it harder for me.
Or if you're an airbender, you have like a sense of the air around you, so like people can't sneak up on you because you can sense changes in air movement and pressure.
I'm going to have to think about this.
So give it a thought. Honestly, if you have watched Avatar before and you're like, oh man, I hadn't thought about the bending, look it up. There are some really deep, awesome like discussions people have had over the different bending styles. And comment on our website and let us know. Or on the YouTube comments.
Yeah. We will check you later.